Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to give everybody else a couple of seconds to join the webinar for today. So thanks for your patience in the meantime. Awesome. All right. So I think we're pretty much ready to begin. We may see a couple of other folks rolling through. So we'll just try our best to keep them in the loop. But welcome everybody and hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining from, to today's online learning session, which will involve FortisBC's new MURB maintenance rebates for heating system optimization. My name is Nathika and I'm the education lead here at BC Nonprofit Housing Association. And it's my honor to welcome you all to today's webinar. Before we do begin, I would like to acknowledge that today we're gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded Coast Salish territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish peoples. Our work at BCNPHA takes place across the unceded territories of about 198 distinct First Nations in British Columbia. And we'd like to recognize the enduring presence and resilience of Indigenous peoples in these lands and express our humble gratitude to the opportunity to live, learn, and work here. We'd like to pay our respects to the elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples joining us today. A little bit of housekeeping. You'll notice that as you enter, you're placed on mute. However, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to raise your hand using the raise hand feature, which will be within the React button on your toolbar. Or if you're more comfortable asking a question directly through the chat window, please feel free. We encourage you to pursue whichever method of learning that fits your needs best. We're also joined by our presenters today, Matt, Rita, and Mel from FortisBC. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to them to get us started for the day.
Perfect. Thanks, Natika. Hi, I'm Matt from FortisBC's, so I'll be your primary host today, and I have my colleagues Rita and Mel with us. So I work on the social housing retrofit support program, and I'm really thankful you're taking time out of your day to join us today. We're going to educate the audience as much as we can here on the heating system optimization rebate. So this is a new rebate program that we're launching, and background as well on social housing retrofit support. I just wanted to give my own little kind of personal land acknowledgement as well. So this is something I was thinking about, and I thought about how can we be forward-looking, or in the context of my life, how is this something that I feel has impacted me positively? And when I grew up, I actually grew up a couple blocks from Musqueam First Nation in what's now Southwest Vancouver. So I feel really grateful that I went to the same schools, elementary school and high school, along with the children from Musqueam. So I look at some of the very specific values that I think came from that and have stuck with me. So one example was when leadership and families from Musqueam and elders as well came and held a smoked salmon barbecue at the school. So this is on the backfield. We're surrounded by Pacific Spirit Park. And I just remember that smell like wafting through the air on kind of like a spring night sort of thing. And I mean, I just think this sounds sort of simple, right? But like it's kind of fundamental, like something about sharing food and then being taught at that moment when I'm a little kid, taught about how, this is harvested right nearby. This is at the mouth of the Fraser River. That's only a couple blocks away. And you're used to just going to the grocery store, buying something in a package and that sort of thing. So as a kid, thinking about that and that sort of like human scale, I think it sticks with you. And it's something for the rest of your life. You're like thinking about those connections, thinking about this as we tend to be, rushing around in modern society, not necessarily fully connected to where food is coming from. So I just want to say thanks to Musqueam for helping share that value with me when I was small, and it's just something I want to make an effort to remember and just think about in my choices and actions. So I'm really grateful of that. So our agenda today, we will do some introductions. So introductions to our team. We'll provide some background on the social housing retrofit support program. Rita will explain more about the heating system optimization offer that we have. So those new rebates that we think will be really applicable to multi-unit residential building social housing providers. And we'll give you next steps. So by the end of this, you should have a pretty good idea. It's a fairly simple way to enroll and a fairly simple process to go through. And then we'll end with questions and answers as well. Okay, so I'm Matt Hoover. I work in the Conservation and Energy Management, that's CNEM team. I'm a program specialist and I administer the Social Housing Retrofit Support Program. We have Rita Onolememe. She is also in CNEM. She's a program specialist and commercial and industrial. So in the sense of commercial, we do call MURBs and that size of building commercial as well. So that is the application there. And Mel Tugade, he's the key account manager. So some of you may have worked with Mel before. He has a huge wealth of knowledge. He really understands things across our different programs. And so he's commercial energy solutions. So a little quiz here. So that was a bit about us. We'd love to get to know the audience a little bit more. And Natika will put up a quiz here just about where you're calling in from today, so we can get a sense of where people are phoning in from. And you should be able to see a selection now that you can answer. All right, Lower Mainland. We're seeing a Lower Mainland coming in strong. We'll give this one about 30 seconds here, and then I'll share the results. All right, we have 11 respondents. I think it's probably okay. What do you think, Natika? Ready to? Great. So yeah, we have eight people from the Lower Mainland, and that's where we're calling in from. We have one from Central BC, and then two other. I'm actually curious if people go in the chat if they're calling in from somewhere else that's not on the list. I just put this list together quickly, so just curious where you're phoning in from. And I can't see the chat, Natika, so I appreciate if you'd let me know.
Yeah, I see somebody's here from Victoria.
Oh yeah,
And
the island, of course.
yeah, we've got two islanders.
Perfect. I was there last week, so I appreciate that. I actually spent 6 years of my life in Victoria, and my wife is from Langford, so a little personal tidbit there. All right, thanks everybody. That's good to know. So yeah, a lot of our projects tend to be in the Lower Mainland. I mean, that's where you're getting a lot of this style, this archetype, as they say, of building, but we're seeing a lot of interest, more interest as well from, yeah, places like the island, places like the Okanagan, Kootenays, that type of thing. So thank you again for calling in today. All right, I'll close that box. So this slide is just a bit of background. So it kind of helps you understand, like when I joined this team as well, I was curious, like what is conservation and energy management? What does this mean at FortisBC? Where does this come from? So Fortis, we work with sector partners. So we have, that could be anything, right? Like sector partners who understand the nuances and then they help us understand the energy needs of social housing providers. So we get a good sense of how is energy getting used. And as BC's utility company, we operate both gas and electric. If you're on the coast here, you might not know, but FortisBC is the electric provider for areas like the South Okanagan, Kootenays, so places like Nelson, that sort of thing. We have agreements where we're handling electricity and gas in those areas. And then on the coast, obviously, we're gas, and then we have BC Hydro we're working with as well. So when we're looking at that, we're looking at all the different types of opportunities. So we need to look at, we call them diversified pathways. So moving forward, obviously, the goal as a province, and we're all hoping to reduce emissions as much as possible. So what does that mean? So if you're looking at the systems in the buildings, maybe the buildings, they're saying that 50% of these buildings that exist today are expected to still exist by 2050. And obviously there's different ages of buildings. So we need to look at, does it make sense? Can they fully electrify where it makes sense? Or are there options as well? Like in the meantime, helping with the transition, we do have new high efficiency gas equipment as well that can be put in place. So FortisBC is working a lot with different suppliers. And every year we're seeing new innovations coming forward that we're testing and looking at the applications so that we can help buildings modernize, save energy, save on cost, obviously, and reduce emissions as well. And that's where the social housing retrofit support program comes from. So it's a piece of this. We have several different types of programs, and the one that applies for nonprofit social housing providers is called SHRSP, so Social Housing Retrofit Support Program. We love our acronyms, and it's something I'll try and avoid today. But yeah, if I do use an acronym or Rita or Mel, and you're not sure what that is, please just throw it in the chat. Say I don't know what that means, and we'll make a point to expand on that. So this slide is essentially, you can see FortisBC is committing real investment and effort in the province when it comes to energy efficiency. So we're constantly looking for new ideas, innovations, technologies that can help you on this journey. We know it's not necessarily easy, especially when you have tenants in a building. You're not necessarily going to relocate everybody, and you have specific concerns around making sure they're comfortable, making sure they're safe, all that sort of thing. So today is a way that we can communicate some of the steps and some of the options. And as well, we're happy to receive feedback at the end to help keep evolving our programs and what's available. So social housing retrofit support program, it's been around since 2018. And we offered housing providers a suite of gas and electricity energy efficiency measures. So we use measures is like just a way to say like appliances or any type of ways that we can improve the existing appliances, install new things, tune things up, or just ensure that the building systems that you have are running efficiently, and you can reduce your reduce your energy costs and associated emissions as well. So with SHRSP, we have over 500 housing providers today that have participated, and I'm not sure if anybody here has participated, but we'll have a little quiz on that later. And when you enter the program, typically what happens is people will work with BC MPHA. They'll come in what we call a stream 1. So with that stream, it'll be starting out with an energy study. You'll do an energy walkthrough, then a more detailed energy study. We have funding up to $8,000 available for this. Stream 2, so sort of the second step would be implementation support. So depending on the complexity of the types of things you're trying to improve in your building, sometimes it's a little more complex and you need to have energy consultants or engineers. People work on the design sort of aspects of that. So we have funding up to 11,000 available for implementation support. And then finally, like stream 3 or the final step is those actual pieces of equipment, physical things that are getting installed cost money. So we have funding available for those individual items as well. This is just a sort of a simple breakdown. I like this slide. It's just simple, visually kind of clean. And basically what it's showing you is there's the energy study, the implementation support, and the funding. So those are those 3 different streams and 3 different places that we can support you financially. And how do you know what to put in place? Well, you have energy specialists from BC MPHA, and then you have engineering consultants. So those are the types of teams as well that will be helping with the energy studies, helping you really narrow down what can you do, what's applicable, what's easy to put in place, and how much money is available. So how much is it roughly going to cost, and how much can FortisBC and other streams of rebates help reduce that amount so that you're not burdened by that full cost. So with social housing retrofit support program, we have a number of different types of measures. So I'll just breeze through these quickly. So building envelope, mentioning buildings, say a building's from the 1970s or something, like this is the type of building I live in. You're getting insulation, additional insulation for the exterior, so like the siding upgrades, that type of thing. Roof insulation and windows, so modernizing the windows to be more energy efficient. Those are all captured under building envelope rebates. One of the new ones is gas absorption heat pumps. So we've all heard of electric heat pumps. There's also gas absorption heat pumps. One of the benefits of this is sometimes there's restrictions or limitations on the electrical feeds into lots. So gas absorption heat pumps, if there's already a gas meter on site, it's a good way to do a similar type of technology that can really help reduce the heating costs of the building. And similar along those lines is the new dual fuel rooftop units. So if you have a rooftop unit on your building, or dual fuel options. Both of these are more than 100% energy efficient. And we have controls and optimization. This is simpler things like, you get a programmable thermostat. Heating system optimization. So that will be what our main focus is here today. And then simpler things like pipe insulation. There's funding available for that. And in our areas, like we're talking about the South Okanagan and the Kootenays, so we have some electric related measures as well. So electric heat pumps, lighting, and more. And so heating system optimization offer. So what is this and what's this main topic that we're here for today? So this is to help you reduce energy consumption, lower your costs, and improve comfort. Basically, the goal of this is that we have incentives or measures that optimize the performance of your existing heating system. So it's not about necessarily changing everything out, but it's about providing energy efficiency options so that you have ways to improve your existing systems. So the main categories of heating system optimization are appliance tune-ups, boiler optimization, so adding new technology pieces and components to your existing boilers and modifying them in a way that can improve efficiency. Then heat recovery ventilators, which Rita will get into more later, and hydronic additives as well, which she'll also be explaining. So I'm going to hand off to Rita. So Rita Onolememe, my colleague, she's very talented and knows a lot more about this area than I do. So Rita, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks for that introduction, and thanks for the overview that you've provided so far. And so, yes, let's get to know your appliances, and so we can understand how this offer can be beneficial to you. So let's get to learn what your appliances are and how you've engaged with BC and PHA in the past. So again, I'm sure more information will be provided in that context, but just to know if any of you have actually had a previous engagement with BC and PHA, and also your appliances, so we can know how this offer could definitely suit your needs in helping you support your energy efficiency journey. So yeah, let's have the quiz. Okay. Does your building have any of the following gas appliances? Would like to know. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, based on the responses received so far, this offer will definitely be of benefit to you. You definitely benefit from participating in this offer. So great, great, great to know. Yeah, good, great. Thanks for your responses. And the second question. We can scroll down to see the second question, and yeah, let's see. Okay, great. Ooh, okay. So 45% of you have actually engaged with PC and PHA. Great to know. And hopefully the rest 55 will also benefit from this webinar, and you'll know how they can be of help in terms of you accessing the SHRSP program as well as the heating system optimization offer. So great. Thanks for those responses. Yeah, I will, move on to the next slide and provide more information. Yeah, okay. So as Matt did mention, for the heating system optimization offer, we can categorize the measures in the offer into two, like the tune-ups and the add-ons. And so under the tune-ups, we have the furnace and rooftop unit tune-up. We have the domestic hot water boiler tune-up, space heating boiler tune-ups as well. But just to shed more light on when we say tune-up, I mean, some of you might be wondering, what does that mean? So when we talk about tune-ups or equipment tune-up, it's like giving your car a regular checkup or maintenance just to ensure that it is, operating or running effectively, efficiently, and the way it ought to run. So this could usually entail like doing some inspection, doing some cleaning, adjustments where needed, doing some replacements of worn-out parts. That's what this tune-up does for your appliances. So with this tune-up, it's able, the technician is able to support you to ensure that your equipment is functioning optimally. Now, I'll talk more about what this tune-up entails on the next slide. So, yeah, next slide, Mark. Thanks. So, what the technician would do when they come in to help maintain that equipment, the technician would usually, again, for example, let's say you have like a furnace in your home. So the tune-up could include the technician helping you to clean the filters, the burners, to ensure that they are free, free of dust and debris. do some checking for worn-out parts that needs to be replaced, do some adjustment, maybe the settings of the equipment needs some adjustment to ensure that, maybe in terms of the way the system operates. So some adjustments could be done just to ensure that it's running at an optimal level. So this way it helps to prevent like sudden breakdown of the equipment. It helps to save energy. It helps to save cost and also help you to save emissions when you reduce, have that reduced energy consumption. Okay, so that is for the tune-up. Again, for this tune-up, because this is a service. So definitely you need to work with a contractor or with a technician to have this completed. And of course, this also requires, we do have like a checklist that the technician or contractor would have to like fill to ensure that they have gone through the required process or procedure to ensure that this tune-up is comprehensively done. Okay, I will move on to, the next slide. Okay, I did mention that this offer entails add-ons and tune-ups. So under the add-ons, we do have the boiler optimization measures. And under the boiler optimization measures, the measures we have are like parallel positioning, economizer non-condensing, economizer condensing, total dissolved solids control, oxygen control with parallel positioning. I'm sure some of you will be wondering, what does all this mean? Parallel positioning, oxygen control, this sounds so technical, but let me try and just put it in a very simple sentence that, it becomes very easy for you to comprehend. For example, if we talk about parallel positioning, imagine that you are cooking on a stove and you have two knobs. One is for the gas, which is like the fuel, and one is for air, acting like a fan. And so with parallel positioning, you're able to separately control how much of the gas and this air that is coming in. So in that way, you get like the perfect flame for cooking. And so that way it ensures that, your food cooks evenly and efficiently. And that's what the parallel positioning measure does to your boiler in terms of ensuring that you get that accurate level of fuel and air coming in and helping to improve the combustion efficiency of that boiler. Now for economizer condensing. Now economizer condensing and economizer non-condensing, the economizer does the same thing, but I would just like highlight what the difference is. So for the economizer non-condensing, your economizer acts as this heat exchanger in your car, when your car is running. So what it does is that as the engine gets hot, it takes heat, that heat that would have gone to waste. The economizer takes that heat from that air that would have, just gotten wasted. So it traps the heat from the exhaust gas and uses it to supply heat into the car or the engine itself, rather than consuming more fuel to supply you that warmth that you need in the car. And so with the economizer condensing, it goes a step further, where it's able to like convert that exhaust gas into water vapor and extract additional heat from it. And it's able to use that heat to heat up the air, heat up the incoming water, rather than using additional energy to provide that heat to that air or water. And that's so in that way, it reduces the amount of energy that the boiler would need to consume, and of course saving you cost, and of course helping you to reduce your GHG emissions. The TDS, that's the total dissolved solids control, is just like, trying to ensure that you have the right amount of salt in your soup you don't want the salt to be in excess. If not, no one is able to eat that food. So with your TDS, it's just controlling that level of the dissolved solids in the water to avoid, to avoid scaling and corrosion in your boiler, which of course will reduce the efficiency of the boiler. So with the total dissolved solid control, you're constantly, you have this sensor that's constantly monitoring that level and making those adjustments to ensure that that dissolved solid does not exceed the required level and does not begin to impact the efficiency of the boiler. Now for oxygen control is also, yeah, we can liken it to you adjusting the vents on your grill to ensure that you get the right amount of oxygen, enough for the charcoal to burn properly. That's what the oxygen control entails. So using sensors to ensure that you have the right amount of oxygen coming to the combustion system, because of course with excess of that is going to also impact the efficiency of the combustion of that boiler. So you want to make sure that you have the right amount of oxygen in that combustion system, just enough to help provide that energy service that you need. Again, I did talk about the parallel positioning, where that entails using two knobs, one for the gas, one for the fan. So with the oxygen control and parallel positioning, you have like a sophisticated system that is controlling, the amount of fuel and the air coming in, as well as ensuring that you have the right oxygen level in that combustion system. Of course, ensuring that the system has a very good combustion efficiency, which of course helps it to operate optimally and also help you to save energy and also save cost. Okay, I hope that's that explanation was not overwhelming, but I'm sure, giving you and having to liken it to our daily activity makes it, easier for you to understand. So yeah, let's talk about the heat recovery ventilator and energy recovery ventilator. These systems, what they do is they help to improve the indoor air quality. And how it does that is that it helps to bring in fresh air from outside. But that fresh air, especially maybe it's during the winter, can get warmed up from the heat from this outgoing still air. Now that outgoing still air definitely has some warmth in it. It would usually be warmer than the incoming fresh air. But why that is going out, rather than throw the heat that is going out with, the heat recovery ventilator helps to extract the heat from the outgoing still air and use it and transfer that heat to the incoming fresh air. So again, just look at this as a window where you want the fresh air coming in, but you don't want to lose that warmth at the same time. That's what the heat recovery ventilator does for you. And similar to the energy recovery ventilator, just that the energy recovery ventilator goes a step further, not just recovering heat, it also recovers the moisture. Again, depending on the climate zone that you are in, but it helps to recover both heat and the moisture. So that is just like the basic difference between the heat recovery ventilator and the energy recovery ventilator. And what that does is that it helps to reduce the work that the mechanical equipment, say maybe for example your HVAC or your heating system, would need to do, because the air that by the time the air is getting to that mechanical system or your HVAC or your heating system, it's at a higher temperature than than the outside air. So therefore, the amount of heat that needs to be applied to that air, it's reduced, thereby reducing the energy consumption that the mechanical system would have used. So definitely these systems are very beneficial in terms of not just improving your indoor air quality, but also helping you to save on energy, helping you to save on cost, and helping to reduce your GHG emissions as well. I would like to move to the next slide. So the next one is hydronic additives. Now, these hydronic additive works by, of course, helping to increase the ability of the water to release and as well as transfer heat. A very good example would be imagine that you have like a pot of water on the stove and lots of particles or debris or solids is just at the bottom. Now it's going to take a longer time for that water to boil because of the presence of those particles. What the hydronic additives they do, they're like a special cleaning agents that can help to, help to reduce that surface tension in the water and as well as help to improve the performance of the system as a whole, because it also helps to improve the ability of that water to easily, transfer it. So just like the example of your pot of water helps that water in the pot to boil very fast by acting as that cleaning agent. So the hydronic additives, of course, is very beneficial in terms of improving the performance of the system and just helping to do that heat transfer that is needed very quickly. There are different types of hydronic additives that we have. We have endotherms, we have paste solutions, but of course, there's been very good feedback regarding this measure as well. I will, move on to the next slide. And so, yes, we have our next squeeze. Great. So just curious to know which of the heating system optimizations you think might have piqued your interest or you think would you find most beneficial. Okay. Great.
We have a comment from Sean, and he says all of the
Says
above.
all of the above. Thanks, Sean. Good to know. And thanks for the responses so far. So I can see, whoa, okay, the tune-ups for existing appliances is great to know. Yeah, the add-ons, the boil optimization measures, also really great to know. So great to know that this offer is going to be very beneficial to you. We are always looking for ways to support our customers, and knowing that this offer is something that really piques your interest is really great to know. Thank you so much for your responses. Thank you. Okay, I'll pass it over to Matt. Matt, over to you.
Thanks, Rita. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate, obviously, having people like Rita on the team. I'm much more of a generalist. She's much more of an expert. So that's kind of what this is all about. There's different people at BCMPHA, different people at FortisBC that have that technical knowledge, people that can help you through the process. So one thing we didn't want to necessarily spam you here with a whole bunch of slides that were just every single rebate that we have. Because there's so many in heating system optimization, but I'll just give you a quick look at the website. So if you go to the normal social housing retrofit support program website, can everybody see that?
Yes.
I'm seeing nods. Perfect. Okay. So this is a little bit wordy, but it has eligibility, program details, and some of the funding type things that are available in the different streams. But down here we have rebates, and I think this may change to be a little more obvious in the future. But yeah, within the rebates, we have heating system optimization in this category here. And you get a big list. So everything here. Here's these different types of things Rita was mentioning, the economizers. non-condensing economizer, that sort of thing. Some of these are based on the size of the appliance. And as you can see, some really lucrative supports available as well financially. Down here's those HRVs, heat recovery ventilators, energy recovery ventilators, hydronic additives. So this one actually bumped up quite a bit recently. It used to, I think it was 250 before. So these are add-ons that they're pouring essentially into the existing building heating system, so boiler-based heating system. So $450 now per gallon. Ozone laundry is not as applicable, but yeah, then the tune-ups down here. So these are $1 per 1,000 British thermal units, so BTU. So if your boiler is 300,000 BTU, that would be $1 per MBH. So you're looking at $300, for example, for that size. I have another example later that we'll go over, but it's based on the size of your boiler. All right. I'm going to close that. I don't know why my mouse is moving around. Not sure if anybody else can see that, but oh man, sorry, one sec here. I'm going to have to unplug my wireless mouse and okay, well, just bear with me because this mouse is moving around a lot, and
If it
I will
helps,
just
Matt,
do my best to
it's
skip
not, we're
slides.
not able to see it.
Okay, that's good. It looks like it's doing little circles. So, all right, so the tune-up process example. So this is just to show you that it's pretty simple. So you can apply for SHRSP, Social Housing Retrofit Support Program. And that'd be, the best bet is to go through BCMPHA. They have the energy specialists, and Mel as well on the FortisBC, and your key account manager. If you've worked with Mel before, he can direct you as well. And that application comes through, but basically what you would end up doing on the next step, you hire a contractor. So as long as that contractor is licensed by Technical Safety BC, that's the main thing. Or if you don't have one yet, you can always look at our Trade Ally network. So that's a list of approved contractors through FortisBC. So that technician will visit site, they'll conduct the routine maintenance. That maintenance leads to the improved performance, efficiency, longevity, all those things Rita mentioned. That helps your existing appliances work better. And then the rebates paid. So that comes through SHRSP, and that's with assistance through BCMPHA. So they'll help you out if they're kind of with you along every step of the way in terms of like what type of proof of payment or if any paperwork's needed, that sort of thing. But it's generally quite simple to go through that process. And then the rebate calculation. So I see a lot of energy studies come across my desk, so I just made this one up in terms of some of the values that I'm seeing. So multi-unit residential buildings. So typically you might have two boilers, say they're 500,000 BTU or 500 MPH each in size. So total boiler capacity, you're looking at 1 million BTU. So with that $1 per MBH, that means you'd get $1,000 towards the tune-ups for those boilers. And if, for example, the technician comes to site and the amount is right on $1,000, then it's the max that we fund is up to 75% of the total project costs. I wish it could be 100%, but some of this is just based on the past where it helps ensure that those costs that you're being quoted are reasonable as well. And then the work is done properly.
Matt, can I just chime in something
Yeah,
there?
absolutely. Sorry, I'll just go back.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that the furnace and rooftop unit is 100% with the maximum of, I think, $400 or so. So we do have something that is 100%.
Oh, perfect.
Not
Okay.
all of that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. It's even better than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So yeah, just to quickly summarize Social Housing Retrofit Support Program. So you can come through 3 different streams. We can help you with energy study funding, implementation support, that sort of technical design aspect, and the installations and the actual items themselves, including all these heating system optimization. So the common area measures, like we have anything that we're doing here is to support common areas and the overall building. So it's not necessarily something in an individual suite for a resident. It's more that general upgrade. So you could look at building envelopes. That's very popular these days, such as window upgrades, gas absorption heat pumps, dual fuel rooftop units, those controls like the thermostats, that type of thing. Rita's heating system optimization offer, pipe insulation, and then some, if you're in the interior as well, then those electric related options. So yeah, I'll hand off to Mel. Mel, please feel free to introduce yourself. This is the key account manager at FortisBC, Mel, who you may have worked with before.
Thanks, Matt. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for all the attendees and our partnership with BCNPHA. So I am the key account manager overseeing the affordable housing, the private sectors in terms of private healthcare, and basically the nonprofits. So anything to deal with the commercial accounts, whether it be Part 9 buildings, which is less than 3 stories, or Part 3, which is obviously larger buildings that are geared towards multi-unit residential buildings. Anything of the aspects of energy efficiency would come through me, and I would work with those particular stakeholders in trying to identify the opportunity with BCNPHA, of course, in whether it being assistance in FortisBC's gas or electric accounts, and just helping those capital costs, whether you're going to replace any of your gas or electric equipment. FortisBC, along with my colleagues Matt and Rita, would assist your application into determining what best pathway for your building to receive those energy efficient rebates. So definitely please work with your energy specialists. At BCNPHA, they're kind of like the quarterbacks that would get you into the rebate application forms, and they would submit your applications on behalf of your societies, and we would then jointly work with getting those rebates back into your pockets so that your societies or your buildings can then obviously receive or reap the benefits of these rebates. So thank you very much. Thanks, Matt. Back to you.
Thanks, Mel. So yeah, a little bit about BCNPHA, and as Mel mentioned, so they are like your concierge, so they can lead you through the process. I'm sorry, I know we had a slide here earlier where we had everybody's photos, but my apologies. We've had a few versions of this PowerPoint. So the best bet for BCNPHA, if you haven't worked with them yet, which I'm sure you have, is you can email energy@bcnpha.ca. So they're like the one-stop shop, the concierge that can help you through any type of rebates, anything available. They're all super friendly, talented people, and we work with them on a regular basis. So if you have any questions or any feedback as well, like it's easy to pass it through with them, and then learn more. Just learn more about rebates based on your building account, that sort of thing, and even they can help you with that initial energy walkthrough, setting up your Energy Star portfolio manager, and that's a great way for you to track your energy usage. So say you complete that with them, then you undertake some offerings and some measures with us, then you can track that and see how that improves things on your end and continue to work with specialists and update your building along the way. All right. Okay, so our next session, we're having another one of these on June 5th. That topic will be the gas absorption heat pumps and dual fuel rooftop units, so those other new measures that we mentioned. So we'd love if you could join us, or if you enjoyed the session today, please spread the word for June 5th. We'll have the same type of call. And yeah, now I'd like to open up the floor to questions, and we can do a little Q&A. So thank you very much, everybody.
We had a question much earlier on regarding the slide decks, and if we'd be able to share a copy of your presentation from today with the attendees.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And then the next question is from Margaret. She asked, does SHRSP apply to townhouse complexes?
So
Yes.
townhouses, Mel said yes. Yes, generally, I would say generally yes. My planning brain is coming back along where I do remember certain sites with townhouses. It does depend. So when you met in that one slide, we mentioned common areas. So we can only support through SHRSP. Technically, we can't have townhouses where each has its own individual appliances within the units. That would go through a different program at FortisBC. So if you each have individual meters, that sort of thing, that's where it gets kind of complicated. So we start having to parse it, but we do have programs available regardless. So I'd say just depending on your site, whether it's townhouses or your typical MURB, like we're seeing in someone's photo, there's a beautiful multi-unit residential building in the back there, Sean. That's more typical, I would say, for our program. Certain types of townhouses, we do have offers through SHRSP, Social Housing Retrofit Support Program. But if not, Mel, and we will help you find that through FortisBC. Whichever fit works for you, we should be able to find some sort of supports.
Just to clarify, the reason why I said yes is because most townhome complexes that are rows of townhome complexes, they're basically single-family detached dwellings. They would fall more so in what we call our residential rebate programs. This particular call is meant for commercial buildings. So like Sean's, if you can see Sean's background drop there, those are more for, I guess, Part 9 and Part 3 buildings, where your application would benefit into the Social Housing Retrofit Support Program. Doesn't mean that we won't accept you if you have those single family dwelling row townhomes. We would just have to look at them individually, because the only concern I have with that is if the bills or the FortisBC invoices are under the name of your society, which is most likely a rate 2 or above, which is categorized as commercial for FortisBC. If it's a rate 1, which means that the account was set up under the individual's personal information, they're paying their own bill, then it would go to lean towards our simple residential rebate programs. They're still available. It's just the difference is the Social Housing Retrofit Support Program is a little bit more aggressive in terms of providing a higher rebate. Hope that answers your question.
Perfect. Looks like we have a question from Sean.
Yeah, thanks guys for putting this on today. That's our newest completed one in 2022 behind me, so I doubt it would qualify for any rebates, but you know, always in the lookout for new and old stock. I got 3 comments, 3 questions. I'm gonna just list them off because I don't think the same people will answer each one, and then I'll just mute myself again and you can tackle them. The first one's a technical question, so I have a feeling I know who's gonna answer this one, and it's about HRVs and ERVs. We find HRVs lead to a lot of moisture coming out of the access hatches from bad installation jobs with the condensate lines. And I was recently on a call with BC Housing and on our newest build, and they said they're going to do ERVs, which don't have condensate lines. So I just want a little taste of, are HRVs considered old, outdated already, even though they're in our 2022 building? Or there's a place for both. It's not like one entirely replaces the other. The second question is about 25 unit 2-story. Still concerned that that's considered a MURB, but it's from like 1950. So I guess that was a 1950s MURB idea. So, okay, I see the heads nodding. So that's a quick one. The last one is about the competition between BC Hydro and Fortis. And that includes rebates. It includes the climate we find ourselves in now. And just wondering on a little touch on, do you find your rebates are complementary? Is it one or the other? I can understand when everyone's pushing electrification that Fortis has to ramp up their programs to ensure they're still relevant in the future. And then obviously the carbon tax thing is all brand new, hot off the presses. But I'd love a little taste on your guys' thoughts on that and where you see it going. So I'll mute myself, and thanks again for presenting today.
Perfect. Rita, do you want to handle the HRV, ERV?
Yeah, the first question. Thanks, Sean, for the questions. HRVs are not outdated. Like I did mention, the difference between HRVs and ERVs is that ERVs go a step further in terms of not just recovering heat, but moisture. So it depends on your climate zone. So if you're in a climate zone where humidity level is kind of high, you're better off with it with the ERV rather than the HRV. But if you're in a climate zone where the humidity is just it's not bad, it's fine, but it's more of the most important thing is more of recovering that heat, then the HRV becomes more relevant. But again, things can change. Things might be changing. Maybe again as a result of climate change, where it now becomes very, ERVs becomes more useful in most buildings, given that given that the temperatures of our environment is getting warmer, and so the ERVs, they are able to recover both the heat while also being able to recover that moisture.
Perfect. And yeah, I can just touch on the BC Hydro and Fortis. When it comes to SHRSP, Social Housing Retrofit Support Program, we actually work hand in hand with them. So it's not sort of the competition in the same sense that you would think. It's something where we do have meetings with them. Our rebates, those sorts of things are regularly reviewed. So later this week, actually, we have another meeting with some groups internally where we're looking at our window rebate. So it's just formatted for social housing retrofit support. The window rebate's formatted in a different way than BC Hydro. And that's an example of where we've received some feedback where they said, it'd be a lot easier to understand if it was like the BC Hydro Clean BC method of how to calculate it. And so we're looking at that. We're considering shifting over to that. So ultimately, I think that the rebates tend to be kind of complementary with places like, say in Vancouver, though. I'm just thinking of energy studies that I see come across my desk. I would say very typically, the go-to would be, if it's possible, the go-to that is discussed is electrification. The concern is, and the feedback I received is sometimes this can be a problem later on in projects where it's deemed, I mean, it's an ideal situation, but it doesn't necessarily fit maybe the building life cycle or the overall sense of the costs and what's available for budget. So that's where I think things like heating system optimization is so valuable, because it's like people live there, can't necessarily like shift everybody out and then back in again and do all these significant upgrades, or upgrading the feed to the lot may not be practical. Or maybe the grid, we're seeing a lot more strain, and including FortisBC, like we were running electric and gas in the interior as mentioned. So there's been some things in the news about it's not necessarily possible always to get the same electric feed you want if you want to put in all the EV charging or different things like that. So what we're trying to do is essentially provide a suite of different options. So you can look at basic things like the upgrading or updating what you have, or moving to like gas absorption heat pumps, if that makes sense. And either way, what we're doing is it's in our best interest to like maximize the energy savings as well. So we're able to calculate these GHG reductions because FortisBC is pushing really hard as well to meet these provincial mandates. So I hope that helps explain.
Sean, if you want to send me your building information, my on this slide here, it has my contact information from my email. I can certainly look at whether this building does fall within the commercial rate 2 category. It sounds like it does, since it is 25 suites, 3 stories. Most likely it is. So that, or 2 suite. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I have a feeling for that type of premise, it would fall within the commercial space. But yeah, drop me an email and I'll review it and get back to you as soon as possible.
I
Yeah,
will. Thanks for that. I just want to add a little tweak. We're in the Thompson Okanagan, so Kamloops, Kelowna for our heat. So we get pretty big boiler bills in the winter for the cold, and then we get really big electric bills in the summer for AC. So
the
it's
cooling.
yeah, but we get the best weather. I mean, there's that. No, just kidding. I guess one of the things I've heard in the industry is that people have started some of these projects using partial grants or their own, like, we know this is the right thing to do. And then they find out they've actually, this was provided to me by someone, I can't name their name, but someone in the nonprofit sector and government type thing, said that they've accidentally, unfortunately, excluded themselves from deep energy retrofit money because they did a partial retrofit. And I just want to make sure that whoever we pick to sort of work with isn't, we're not going to accidentally shoot ourselves in the foot if we found out, oh, well, that Government of Canada one means we have to do the windows and the siding and the, I just, now we've got 3 people trying to provide funding, which is awesome. We just want to make sure we don't exclude ourselves from a bigger pool of money by doing something that just obviously makes sense, like windows. So I was a little surprised to hear that. It was almost like some first adopters were accidentally getting penalized. And I just want to make sure we never put ourselves in that. But thank you all for your responses. It's been good.
Sean, I just had one more really quick note, or just for the general audience here, but for social housing retrofit support, we have our minimum units is 9, so it's actually fairly low. And I'm sure your building sounds like it would qualify, so we just have
Most
to
of them,
double check.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've got 2 that are that small and the rest are bigger.
Mhm.
Just a round of hands. Anybody going to the Kamloops BCNPHA rent conference coming up next week? Starting, I think it's the 3rd and 4th, March or April.
It's just one
Because-
day, Mel. It's Jackie
Oh,
here. Yeah, just one
okay.
day. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
It's
It's a-
me. I'm looking
you-
at my
yeah, you're traveling.
accommodations.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's April 3rd.
April 3rd, Thursday. Yeah, thanks, Jackie. So yeah, we're going to be there. Our booth will be there, and we're going to be supporting BCNPHA all the way with all the members. So looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Nice. Yeah, and Sean, we can definitely chat because yeah, the CMHC and the FCM funds are for deeper energy retrofits, and they also do include some capital replacements as well. So some non-energy assets. So yeah, sometimes if people are doing a lighting retrofit, like if you're kind of doing different capital retrofits in each year to year, that's one way to get your savings and reduce your loads. But yeah, if you're really planning for that big project with the CMHC and FCM funds and then stacking these utility funds, you do need to be more strategic around maybe holding off on those year one capital, like those capital projects, and then putting them all together to get the big energy savings to meet those thresholds. So yeah, happy to chat about how they all stack and sometimes don't stack. It's complicated.
All
Perfect.
right.
We're almost at the 1 hour exactly.
I'm not seeing any more questions here, Matt, but thank you so much to you, Mel, Rita, Jackie, for answering the questions that come in. I suppose if there are any lingering questions, please feel free to send them to us via email. Our education email is learn@bcnpha.ca. I'll make sure I pop that in the chat as well. And beyond that, you'll receive a follow-up from us with a link to the recording for today's webinar. And I'd just like to thank our speakers for the day, Matt, Rita, and Mel. Thanks for coming in, sharing your expertise, your time, and your knowledge with all of us. And we can't wait to host you again later in June. So
Okay.
thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks so
everyone.
much,
Thanks,
Natika.
everyone.
Have a great
Thank
week.
you. Thanks for
Thanks, everyone.
attending. Yeah, thanks.
Take care. Bye.